faithfully conveying value, interpreting global great books. Hi, this is Sally's Book Club. Today we'll explore Susan Woodford's Looking at Pictures. Susan Woodford teaches Greek and Roman art history at University of London and has conducted research at the British Museum's Department of Greek and Roman Antiquities, publishing several academic works on ancient art. This book spans artistic works from cave paintings to contemporary art, including 15,000-year-old Spanish cave art, famous works like Da Vinci's Last Supper, Rembrandt's Night Watch, as well as pieces by Raphael, Monet, Picasso, and lesser-known artists. 20th century modern artworks including Mondrian, Pollock, Warhol, Lichtenstein, and even Japanese ukiyo-e creations. The book's core mission answers every viewer's fundamental question. How should we look at a painting? In this 100,000-word work, Dr. Woodford first recommends 4 basic methods for appreciating paintings. Then she shares techniques for finding meaning through decoding visual metaphors. Finally, introducing formal analysis, a professional evaluation method. Now let's examine how the author achieves her primary objectives. The author suggests approaching art with 4 key questions. First, why did the artist create this work? Second, what cultural context does it reflect? Third, is the work realistic? Fourth, how is the composition designed? All mentioned artworks are illustrated in the accompanying materials. Listeners can view while listening. Let's explore the first question. Why was this painting created? This question has different answers across eras, from ritualistic purposes to religious devotion, from illustrating complex allegories to demonstrating artistic innovation. Let's examine portrait painting as an example. Why create portraits? First, subjects wanted to preserve their best appearance for posterity. Second, viewers could see historical figures' appearances. All right, let's start by discussing the iconic Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci that we're all familiar with. Before diving into the painting, let's first understand the man behind it, Leonardo da Vinci. Giorgio Vasari, author of the first Western art history book, Lives of the Most Excellent Painters, Sculptors, and Architects, described da Vinci this way: a man of physical perfection, graceful movements, and extraordinary intelligence. In adulthood, he solved complex problems with effortless ease. His reputation endured through ages, respected during his lifetime, revered even more posthumously. Da Vinci was truly the Renaissance man, polymath, prolific creator, leaving behind about 6,000 pages of manuscripts, though fewer than 15 completed paintings. Recently, his painting, Salvator Mundi, sold for $450 million at Christie's, New York, equivalent to 3 billion renminbi, becoming the most expensive artwork ever sold. Now that we've covered Da Vinci himself, let's focus on the Mona Lisa, though not extensively analyzed in this book. Today we'll examine this Louvre Museum's crown jewel in detail. Statistics show 90% of Louvre visitors make seeing this enigmatic smile their priority. The museum sells over 230,000 Mona Lisa souvenirs annually through its gift shops. Through this portrait, Mona Lisa's image became immortalized. We now know of this elegantly posed woman with mysterious smile who lived in 16th century Florence. Legend says Da Vinci hired entertainers to keep Mona Lisa cheerful during sittings, capturing that fleeting expression. The smile remains simultaneously enchanting and elusive, truly remarkable. However, the Mona Lisa holds enduring mysteries, including the true identity of its subject. For over 5 centuries, historians have debated this question. Vasari confidently identified her as Lisa Gherardini, wife of Florentine merchant Francesco del Giocondo. Oddly enough, this painting wasn't delivered to the lady but accompanied Da Vinci to France, becoming part of King Francis I's collection. When comparing with Da Vinci's self-portraits, we notice striking similarities in facial features. This leads some to speculate it might be Da Vinci's feminine self-portrait, raising new questions. Are portraits merely for preserving subjects' dignity and showing historical appearances? What role do artists play in the creative process? Are they merely objectively recording their subjects? Analyzing through the Mona Lisa mystery, perhaps we can approach this question differently. Even as commissioned artists, painters maintain creative autonomy, infusing personal perspectives and self-affirmation into portraits. Thus, subjects often bear resemblance to the artists themselves. Of course, portraiture represents just one genre. Others include landscapes, genre scenes, still lifes, historical religious paintings, and decorative arts. Each genre emerges from specific contexts involving artists' intentions and viewers' expectations. The second question, what cultural context does the work reflect? Let's continue our analysis with the Mona Lisa. Regardless of the sitter's identity, this full-figured woman embodies Renaissance confidence. With economic revival and urban development, Renaissance people embraced worldly pleasures rather than medieval pessimism. Art from this period abounds with healthy, beautiful, and robust figures. Both artists and viewers celebrated human form rather than denying its beauty. And Michelangelo's David, transforming the biblical hero into a vibrant young athlete. In painting, we see Raphael's graceful Madonnas and Da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Compared to the gaunt, tormented figures in medieval paintings, the transformation is remarkably significant. Viewers should bring this perspective when appreciating art. The third question, is the work realistic? The question of realism concerns not only viewers, but also artists themselves, particularly classical artists who obsessed over this challenge. Classical artists in Western context mainly refer to those from 600 BC to 300 AD and Renaissance to early 20th century. They developed techniques like human proportions, linear or aerial perspective, and anatomical studies to enhance realism. Da Vinci's Mona Lisa appears lifelike through mastery of human anatomy and aerial perspective. Vasari described it: luminous eyes with liquid sparkle, cheeks flushed naturally, nostrils seeming to breathe, lips blending with flesh tones as if living tissue. If you look closely at the throat's hollow, you can see a subtle pulse. This realism stems from Da Vinci's thorough understanding of anatomy. The background employs aerial perspective, clear foreground blending into hazy distance, mirroring human visual perception. This technique makes Mona Lisa appear present in our shared space rather than confined to canvas. However, classical artists' realism doesn't mean it's the sole criterion for evaluating art. The recent animated film Loving Vincent reignited public interest in Van Gogh, famous for The Starry Night. This painting depicts a wildly exaggerated, swirling night sky with intense emotional impact. In the foreground stands a cypress tree resembling black flames. The sky swirls with tornado-like nebulae, exaggerated starlight clusters, and an amber-hued moon. These visions likely emerged from the artist's hallucinatory states and vertigo experiences. The painter uses subjects as mediums to express inner passion, prioritizing emotional truth over literal representation. Now let's discuss the fourth essential question for viewers. The fourth question, how is the composition designed? Composition refers to the artist's arrangement of shapes and colors. In Mona Lisa, the pyramidal composition formed by her seated position creates regal elegance. A stone parapet separates the figure from the landscape behind. The winding paths and rivers mirror the curves of her folded hands. The color palette features muted earth tones with subtle greenish undertones, creating solemn harmony. Dark clothing accentuates the luminosity of her face and hands. To summarize these four fundamental methods of art appreciation, you gain clear direction for artwork analysis. Ask these questions while viewing. Why was this created? What cultural context does it reflect? Is it realistic? How is the composition designed? This transforms passive viewing into active understanding. Let's apply this method to Picasso's Guernica. First question, why was it painted? Picasso, though Paris-based, accepted a commission from Spain's Republican government for the 1937 Paris Expo. During planning, German Luftwaffe bombed the Basque town of Guernica. A 3-hour bombardment killed civilians and flattened the historic town. This atrocity sparked international condemnation. Outraged, Picasso transformed his commission into a powerful anti-war memorial. Thus was born Guernica, a masterpiece forever etched in art history. Second question, what cultural context does it reflect? The 20th century world wars represented humanity's most brutal conflicts, bringing catastrophic destruction. Now, but WWE's horrific aftermath didn't deter warmongers' ambitions. Militarists provoked 2W, while progressive intellectuals mobilized anti-war movements. They wrote, lectured, and created art to oppose warfare. This painting embodies that anti-fascist spirit. Artistically, early 20th century Paris was the art capital, where movements like Cubism emerged. Picasso pioneered Cubism, the first major avant-garde movement. Cubism deconstructed objects into geometric forms, reassembling them abstractly, breaking all artistic conventions. This liberation allowed complete creative freedom, as shown by Matisse's response to a critic. When a lady commented a woman's arm looked too long, Matisse politely countered, "Madam, this isn't a woman, it's a painting." Third question, is it realistic? Compared to Mona Lisa's realism, Guernica isn't literal. But realism isn't the sole criterion for artistic value. While Mona Lisa achieves photographic precision, Guernica's power lies in symbolic abstraction. The painting's distorted figures convey visceral horror. A screaming head emerges from jagged architectural debris on the right. Beneath this, a panic-stricken woman flees desperately, her leg seemingly left behind in the chaos. Every element twists in agony, the bull symbolizing brutality, the horse representing suffering innocence. The electric bulb eye hybrid combines ancient and modern symbols of surveillance. Monochrome palette heightens the nightmarish quality, eliminating naturalistic color. Through cubist fragmentation, Picasso universalizes the specific tragedy into eternal anti-war statement. A woman leans from a window holding an oil lamp over the carnage. The central explosion manifests as an electric bulb casting jagged shadows even in daylight. Beneath this lies a wounded horse with ghastly rib injury, under which a dying soldier clutches broken sword and flower. Leftward, a woman screams, skyward, clutching her dead child. Her contorted face embodies anguish, the lifeless child dangling like a rag doll, even the nose drooping limply. Behind them looms a bull's head with cruel grin, tongue like bullet and ears like blades, weaponized features contrasting the mother's open hands. Picasso frequently used bull imagery to symbolize brutality throughout his works. Here, the bull clearly represents fascist barbarism and darkness. Cubist fragmentation perfectly conveys war's chaos and terror. Fourth question, how is the composition designed? The seemingly chaotic composition demands active viewing. Cubist multiple perspectives require viewers to mentally reconstruct scenes like puzzle pieces. Irregular triangles and arcs create visual cacophony, mirroring aerial bombardments, disorientation. The composition replicates bombing chaos, planes diving, citizens fleeing, limbs scattered everywhere. The monochromatic scheme of black, white, and gray intensifies the nightmarish atmosphere. We've demonstrated basic art appreciation methods through two masterpieces. Further exploration of visual metaphors can deepen understanding and enjoyment. And, for instance, the book discusses Flemish painter Jan van Eyck's The Arnolfini Portrait. This painting offers rich opportunities for decoding visual metaphors. A wedding portrait, exquisite in detail, vibrant in color, filled with symbolic elements. The couple stands solemnly exchanging vows. Giovanni Arnolfini cradles his wife Giovanna Senemi's hand while raising his other in oath, mirrored by her reciprocal gesture. Two witnesses appear subtly in the convex mirror, one likely being the artist himself, signed Johannes Deek Voigt hic above. Crystal beads and spotless mirror symbolize marital purity. Fruits on furniture recall humanity's innocence before Adam and Eve's original sin. The serious-faced dog represents fidelity rather than mere pet. A single candle burns in the chandelier. Though daylight fills the room, the lit candle symbolizes Christ's omniscient presence, sanctifying the union. The couple's bare feet signify standing on holy ground. Not all artworks contain such dense symbolism, of course, but this example reminds us paintings often conceal layers beyond surface appearances. Close reading reveals multifaceted pleasures: visual, historical, and cultural. Mastering these four methods unlocks both fundamental appreciation and metaphorical depth. For deeper analysis, one might employ formal analysis, a more specialized approach. This method examines pure visual components: line, color, composition, divorced from subject matter. Pioneered by German art historian Heinrich Wölfflin, leading figure of formalist criticism, through comparative studies of High Renaissance and Baroque art, Wölfflin proposed conceptual pairs distinguishing their styles. These paired concepts include linear versus painterly style, planar versus recessional composition, closed versus open form, multiplicity versus unity. These conceptual pairs are relative rather than absolute distinctions. For example, comparing Raphael's High Renaissance works with Rubens' Baroque paintings, both Raphael's Colonna Altarpiece and Rubens' Holy Family with St. Francis depict sacred family themes. In Raphael's work, every element, figures, and objects has precise outlines. Each figure receives equal emphasis, standing out like sculptural forms. Rubens' treatment differs. Some elements recede into shadow, their contours dissolving. Quick brushstrokes blend components, rather than separating them distinctly. Thus, Raphael's figures remain crisply defined, while Rubens' Saint Joseph nearly merges with shadows. Only Saint Joseph's face emerges clearly in Rubens's composition. Formal analysis focuses exclusively on visual components: line, color, composition. This approach reveals evolutionary patterns in art history through formal changes. This concludes our overview of looking at pictures. Let's recap the key concepts. The book primarily discusses fundamental methods of art appreciation. Viewers should approach artworks with four essential questions. 1. Why did the artist create this work? 2. What cultural context does it reflect? 3. Is the work realistic? 4. How is the composition designed? The first question yields different answers across eras. From ritualistic to creative purposes, paintings served diverse functions: religious devotion, philosophical expression, artistic innovation. The second question requires contextual analysis of historical and cultural circumstances. Third question: distinguish classical and non-classical artists' value systems. Classical artists pursued realism intensely, while non-classical counterparts followed different paths. The 20th century saw an explosion of art movements: Cubism, Surrealism, Abstract Expressionism, dazzling in their diversity. Artists freely reinterpret reality. Viewers shouldn't judge works solely by realism standards. The fourth question requires patient analysis of compositional elements, shape relationships, and color interactions. The book also explores how artists embed visual metaphors. With patience and contextual knowledge, viewers can peel back symbolic layers like an onion. Finally, formal analysis offers advanced appreciation methods. Beyond these methods, consider artistic lineage and technical mastery. Art appreciation is ultimately a rewarding journey of discovery. Next time you visit museums or browse art books, apply these methods to unlock deeper artistic understanding. This concludes our exploration of looking at pictures. Study notes available below. Join us next time for another literary journey.